How did a college dropout convince the world's top investors, doctors, and scientists that she had a medical breakthrough? And how did her company, Theranos, almost change the future of healthcare until it all came crashing down? Let's dive into the rise and fall of Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. In 2003, Elizabeth Holmes, a 19-year-old Stanford dropout, founded Theranos with a vision to revolutionize the medical world. She promised to create a device that could perform hundreds of tests from just a single drop of blood, an innovation that would make traditional blood testing obsolete. Holmes was driven by a desire to disrupt the healthcare industry, and her bold promises caught the attention of some of the world's most powerful investors, doctors, and scientists. The media loved her, and Silicon Valley quickly dubbed her the next Steve Jobs. She became a billionaire by the age of 30, with Theranos valued at nearly $9 billion. But beneath the polished pitch and glowing media coverage, a much darker story was unfolding. One that would bring down the company, shatter lives, and expose the dangerous consequences of unchecked ambition. As the company grew, so did its network of powerful backers. Holmes attracted some of the most respected figures in politics and business to join Theranos' board of directors, including former Secretary of Defense James Mattis, former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, and former U.S. senators. These high-profile names added credibility to the company, helping to legitimize her product. The media hailed her as a visionary, a young female entrepreneur disrupting an industry long dominated by men. With all the hype, Theranos was not just a company, it was a movement. The promise of making blood testing faster, cheaper, and less invasive was tantalizing. Investors lined up, eager to be a part of this healthcare revolution. Theranos was on track to change the world, and Elizabeth Holmes was at the helm, hailed as the next big thing in Silicon Valley. As Theranos grew, so did the pressure to deliver on its promises. But behind the scenes, things were not as perfect as they seemed. While Elizabeth Holmes was telling the world that her blood testing device could revolutionize healthcare, those working inside the company began to see troubling signs. The technology didn't work as advertised. In fact, the blood testing machines often produced inaccurate and inconsistent results, leading to potential risks for patients. Several employees started to voice their concerns. Tyler Schultz, a former Theranos employee and grandson of former Secretary of State George Shultz, became one of the company's earliest whistleblowers. He grew alarmed when he realized that the tests were not reliable, but when he raised the issue with management, his concerns were brushed aside. Other employees, including chemists and engineers, were equally frustrated as they realized the technology wasn't nearly as advanced as Holmes had promised. Despite the growing issues, Theranos refused to allow independent testing or third-party oversight. Instead, Holmes doubled down on secrecy, insisting that the technology was still in its early stages and that the public wasn't ready for the full picture. The company even went so far as to alter test results and manipulate data to make it appear as though their devices were functioning correctly. They were more focused on maintaining the illusion of success than on addressing the reality of their flawed technology. In 2015, the Wall Street Journal caught wind of these issues. Reporter John Carreyrou, after receiving a tip from a whistleblower, began to investigate the company. Carreyrou's reporting would eventually expose the truth about Theranos' faulty technology, and with it, the house of cards began to crumble. But for now, Holmes and her company were still being praised by investors and the media, keeping up the charade for as long as they could. The fall of Theranos. By 2016, Theranos was still being hailed as a groundbreaking company, but the cracks in its foundation had widened beyond repair. Despite the glowing media coverage and the billions in valuation, the truth was slowly coming to light. As the Wall Street Journal investigation continued, reporter John Carreyrou uncovered a web of lies and deceit that went all the way to the top. Carreyrou's sources, like former employees and whistleblowers, revealed shocking details about the company's practices. Theranos had manipulated test results, used commercially available machines for tests instead of their own devices, and even misled doctors and patients about the accuracy of their tests. One of the most disturbing revelations was that the company was performing tests on real patients using faulty devices, putting lives at risk in the process. In the face of mounting evidence, Elizabeth Holmes continued to deny any wrongdoing. She maintained that the device was in development, that the company had merely encountered setbacks, and that they were working to resolve the issues. But the damage was already done. The The public began to question the legitimacy of the company, and more people came forward with stories of corporate pressure and unethical behavior inside Theranos. By 2016, federal regulators began investigating the company, and the Department of Justice launched a criminal inquiry. Holmes and her partner, Ramesh Sunny Balwani, who had served as Theranos' president, were accused of defrauding investors, doctors, and patients. The once lauded, visionary CEO, who had been compared to tech giants like Steve Jobs, was now at the center of a scandal that would change the way Silicon Valley viewed its startup culture forever. In 2018, Elizabeth Holmes and Ramesh Balwani were charged with criminal fraud. They were accused of lying to investors, doctors, and patients about the capabilities of their technology. The case went to trial, and over the next few years, the once heralded Theranos company was dismantled piece by piece. By 2021, Holmes stood in court, facing the consequences of her actions, which had led to the destruction of a company worth billions, a shattered trust in Silicon Valley startups, and countless lives affected by the dangerous falsehoods that were peddled in the name of innovation. The fall of Theranos is a cautionary tale, one that reveals the dangers of unchecked ambition, the perils of a culture that values success above all else, and the consequences of hiding the truth in the pursuit of fame and fortune. Elizabeth Holmes' story is a powerful reminder that in the world of business, the cost of deception can be far greater than any success. Theranos was a perfect storm of ambition, deception, and unchecked power. Elizabeth Holmes' rise and fall shows us how easily the desire for success can cloud judgment and put lives at risk. It's a powerful reminder that transparency and ethics must be at the core of every innovation. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the biggest scandals in Silicon Valley, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories about hidden truths and shocking revelations. What's your take on the Theranos saga? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.